Greetings, whiskey folk, and welcome back to Drinking Out Loud, and welcome back again to our special guest who's here for the rest of the year, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, James Bornn is back, and we have some epic whiskey. This is November. This is a key month for the whiskey season here in Victoria because Whisky Festival tickets are on sale. And what better way to celebrate than having a premium whiskey in the Dram Association, which was the best-selling whiskey at the pop-up store at last year's festival. Do you know that?
Did not know that.
Which is weird. Literally, we sold more actual bottles of this whiskey than actual bottles of anything else.
How many bottles do you think were consumed by the end of the weekend?
Oh, good question. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, it does feel a bit of a special occasion whiskey.
I think so.
The festival might be a special occasion, but at the same time, they also probably had a lot of other whiskey at the festival.
Right. Well, this whiskey will show up again at Whisky Festival.
Nice. And this is a different batch. So for those of you who did pick up the Linkwood 25 from Bornn and MacPhail last year, this is a brand new batch. Of course, with any small batches, with any small batches, there is going to be a little bit of variation between them. But I don't know, GMM are pretty consistent, especially with the quality. There might be some flavor differences though, of course.
Well, what's unique about this too is that, Bornn and MacPhail is filling these casks, right from the tap at Linkwood Distillery. And they're filling, they have a plan in advance. So even the casks that they filled this year at Linkwood, some of those casks are predestined for the distillery label 25-year-old 25 years from now. So it's not an accident.
Will they choose different casks for them?
No, they're the same type of casks.
Interesting.
Yes.
They're just set aside.
Yeah.
So if, for example, the 15 won an award and became really popular and they had to suddenly make more, they could, but they'd be drawing from the 25 stock.
Bingo. And likewise, when they taste the casks, let's say there's one that is exceptional or needs more time, they'll adjust accordingly.
Nice.
So there's a little bit of wiggle room. But for the most part, these casks kind of have a sense of predestiny.
Yeah. So Linkwood is an absolutely fantastic distillery, which does not get enough attention. Thankfully, we've got people like Bornn and MacPhail giving them the attention it deserves. Maybe we should put it in detention, so long as I'm there too.
Maybe some other distilleries that no longer let Bornn and MacPhail fill.
Yeah, they should go in detention. Yeah.
But of course, that won't be an issue because this is the last year that Bornn and MacPhail is filling new casks, which is a whole other can of worms. But rest assured, we will not see the effects on this whiskey for 25 more years.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried at this point.
I mean, we might still be selling whiskey by then, but it'll be a very different landscape.
We'll be making it in space, right?
Oh, space whiskey.
Yeah.
Ardbeg got it first, though.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, so the distillery label range essentially honors a lot of the history, like we talked about Bornn and MacPhail, the fact that they focused on single malt. There's a lot of distilleries where for many decades, and Linkwood still to this day falls into this bucket. If you wanted those whiskeys as single malts, really the best purveyor of them was Bornn and MacPhail.
Yeah.
So Bornn and MacPhail and the Urquhart family have this relationship with a lot of these distilleries. Glen Grant, Glenlivet, Macallan maybe are the most famous. But again, Morlock, Linkwood, even Highland Park, Pulteney, there was a lot of distilleries that traditionally were in this range.
And what I really like about the distillery labels range is even the ones that have official bottlings, they have a distillery characteristic that they're aiming for. And G&M have a distillery characteristic for that spirit that they're also aiming for. And they're usually weird cousins to each other.
Yeah.
You can see the link, and there's but they actually are somewhat different, even though they're still consistent with each other. As opposed to the independent bottlings where they buy pre-matured whiskey. We had a Linkwood from Cooper's Choice recently that was done in a Calvados cask, actually, which was super wild.
Yeah, taking advantage of the new rules.
Yeah, but it didn't taste like Linkwood.
Right.
In either of the Linkwoods. Either the official bottlings, which I've had very few because they're very hard to get. It's basically a once-a-year thing, I think, at this point. Or the G&M range. Didn't really taste like either.
It's very rare to come across a G&M where the wood and the distillery character is out of whack. And I think that's really true of these distillery labels range. They really show off distillery character, which with Linkwood for me, I tend to get, it's kind of got a bright and a bit of a sumptuousness on the nose. It's always very citrusy. And the Linkwood marker for me is always, it's got a bit of a fizzy, kind of sherbety citrus character on the palate.
So one of my markers for Linkwood is apple sherbet.
There you go.
Which was
That's
particularly
hilarious.
weird
Very
because
similar.
I was getting those similar notes from the Calvados cask, but it was there via a different route. And I was like,
Yeah, it wasn't from the
were they
spirit.
trying to make Linkwood more Linkwoody?
Yeah.
Like, it's very odd.
So what's remarkable about it, and this is where having the expertise of a company like G&M, you wouldn't think naturally that you would want to age that 25 years in a sherry cask.
No.
That type of spirit. But Linkwood is just kind of one of those magical distilleries that seemingly can do it all.
Mm-hmm. So is this a mix of sherry and bourbon?
No, I believe this is all sherry.
Really?
Yeah. So it would be a mix of first fill sherry and refill sherry.
Right.
And there would be hogsheads and butts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So both European
That
and
makes
American
sense.
oak.
Because, I mean, like, I was trying to figure out, like, G&M, like, as we well know from, actually, hang on, from this bottle, you can get a lot of colour in just 19 years from a sherry cask. But that's because this was a hogshead.
Right.
A butt wouldn't have anywhere near as much contact ratio.
Yeah, and the difference as well between European oak, which tends to give more of that darker color, and I know a lot of the hogsheads are made with that European oak, and then sometimes these butts are made with American oak, especially those transport casks that they use that have double thick walls.
Yeah.
And then those are not as active in terms of imparting color, and I suspect that that's the case with a lot of this spirit.
And that's actually a good point that I made with the video with Brett on that Ardmore, actually, is those casks that if this was in a refill sherry cask, well, that cask, when it was first used, could be from the 1960s.
Absolutely.
Right? It could very much be a transportation cask from the time when it was
that was still in very good shape.
Yeah. Because those transportation casks, like I say, have really thick walls for safety for transportation, that lasted quite a while. So there are still some of those in circulation as second fill casks.
Yeah. Yeah, and as we know, of course, G&M doesn't use anything that's past second fill. So, yeah, it's just either first fill or refill, that's it.
Yeah, second fill isn't really even a thing.
There's no like, oh, it's been here since the 30s and it's been refilled 15 times.
Yeah. It could have been here from the 30s because, let's face it, G&M does have some really old whiskey.
That's a really
if they did a 50-year-old and then rebottled that into a 40-year-old, you got some 1930s whiskey right there.
It's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Somewhere in their warehouse, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's probably something.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, and I have to ask, so I'm learning more and more that there are those rules that companies make that are customer-facing rules that aren't actually true. Now, the biggest one that comes to mind is Glenfarclas only ever uses Oloroso casks.
Right.
Yet somehow, bourbon cask Glenfarclas keeps showing up places.
Funny how that works.
Is that like they only ever release things, or will they sometimes put something into like a third or fourth fill cask that they're not actually planning to use themselves or for experimentation?
Well, I have never seen anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, my understanding is that that's just never the road that they've gone down, and that there's not currently. See, the unique position they're in is that they know that everything in their warehouse is going to be released as a single malt. So you cannot hide a cask, and there would be no purpose in doing so.
Yeah. Yeah, no fair.
Yeah. Whereas, of course, if you're blending a single malt and you have a range of casks, having that variability is, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But
I'm intrigued. There was a story that Brian from Ardbeg was saying the other day. I completely missed this release. It was probably, I can't remember what it was called, but apparently their bottling company accidentally dumped a cask of Glenmorangie in with Ardbeg.
Whoops.
Or it might have been Glenmorangie, one of the two. And they just were like, well, I guess we release it. And they came up with a name that was like The Mistake or something. It was like, it's a random blended malt. It'll never happen again. And now it's a collector's item.
There you go. Well, the first batch, I believe, of the Laddie 10 had a cask of Port Charlotte in it, and they just decided to let it go.
Oh.
So I think there's like some early batches that are lightly peated. And of course, eventually that went away.
Yeah.
But,
That's fun. There are very few whiskies that I actively don't enjoy. The Classic Laddie is one of them. I don't know why. I just can't. I keep trying, but it's so lactic acidy.
Yeah.
I just can't get behind it.
Well, I sometimes feel, look, in our position, we're supposed to say we like everything.
Yeah.
But I feel like every whiskey enthusiast has a few whiskeys that they like explicitly don't like.
Yeah. And if there's a whiskey that's out there that you've just never heard me talk about, that's because I live by that rule. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Apart from the thing I just said about the Classic Laddie.
They'll be okay.
Yeah, they're doing fine.
Sorry, Jess.
I mean, although, shout out to Jez, he's doing great things with us. We've got some very interesting single casks coming soon through Jez. Yeah, but I absolutely do adore Port Charlotte. I like Bruichladdich when it's peated. That lactic acid note works with smoke. I just don't like it without the smoke.
Yeah.
And it's just a personal opinion. I don't think it's bad whiskey. It's just not for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like I just accidentally teased that we might be getting a single cask Bruichladdich. No, I'm sorry. No, he has other whiskies in his portfolio. It's very exciting, though.
Yeah, well, so, I guess we can talk more about this whiskey, the Linkwood 25.
Oh, yeah.
Which, by the way, is spectacular.
It is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
The tangents.
Yeah, there's something.
That's the thing about good whiskey, is it sparks conversation, which then goes in so many different directions.
There is something to that.
Yeah.
It opens the door for opinion.
If you have a whiskey which you just sit there and don't have anything to say, that whiskey has not inspired you.
Yeah, the other whiskey that's kind of part of a set, if you will, with this is the 25-year-old Morlock, which we don't currently have in BC, but there is bottles out there in Canada. And usually when you have both of them side by side, that's what triggers the conversation, because Morlock, I feel like, is a little bit more of a controversial spirit. Like, it's got a little bit of that meaty quality. It's very firm.
Yeah.
And this is a lot easier to get into. It's like bright, flavor is forward.
Sugar-coated almonds on the nose.
Yeah, it's it just very effortlessly shows you what a 25-year-old Scotch is all about.
Yeah.
Without kind of having all sorts of weird divergent qualities. Like, it's just...
And you touched on
it's right down the fairway.
Ability to balance earlier as well, and it does feel very balanced. The spirit and the wood characteristics, one's not fighting against the other. They're both like evenly balanced. That they're cooperating.
A lot of times, the connoisseur's choice, like your cask, those products tend to scream and shout a little bit more sometimes, and they tend to have kind of some more bold flavors that sneak in, even taking into account the cask strength.
Yeah,
this I feel like is like a friend that you want to come back to and just kind of enjoy. And it's nice to be able to do that with a 25-year-old whiskey every now and then, especially at 46%. Truthfully, there's not a ton of products like this, and the price of this for what you're getting, I feel like, is exceptional.
Absolutely. And that's a good point. I should mention the price. So, like I said, this is the premium dram. You can come in and try this during the month of November into December. Somewhere in the second half of November, this will be released into the store, and you can come in and try it for around a month. If you're a premium member, it's completely free to try. If you're not a premium member, it's going to be, I think, like $5 or something, somewhere around there. I haven't decided yet. Maybe $4 or $5 to come and have a sample of it. But you can buy it. It's going to be around $4.40. It's not landed yet at the time of recording, but we think it's going to be around $440. So with the 10% off, it'll be around $400. Which for a 25-year-old single malt these days, there's only one other one I can think of in that price range. And this... Oh, I don't stock them anymore. Actually, we do have some Glenfarclas 25. Glenfarclas 25 will be in our whiskey sale. Okay. This other one is as well, Aberdeen.
Oh, okay.
And I would say this is... I would take this over either of those two.
Yeah, the extra strength probably makes a difference compared to those
absolutely.
Two.
Yeah, they're both... I think the Aberdeen's like 42, and I think Glenfarclas is 43.
Yeah.
No, this is a solid whiskey, and it's one of those whiskeys that everyone who likes whiskey is going to like. You know.
Yeah, this will appeal to a lot of.
It's a crowd pleaser whiskey.
Yeah.
Great for special occasions, family gatherings, New Year's Eve. Yeah, champagne is so passé. Toast with a scotch like you're supposed to. It's Hogmanay.
Right.
Although you do have some champagne in your portfolio, don't you?
Everyone should have at least one bottle of 25-year-old Scotch around.
Well, this is true. Well, that is lovely. Thank you so much for sharing this with us.
That never gets old.
No.
Well, it is old.
Well, yeah. I'm really looking forward to the festival again. I'm intrigued to see what the favourite's going to be this year. I did not expect... We actually had to go back to the store and get more stock for the pop-up store twice for this. I think we brought like 2 bottles. So it was like, it's a premium whiskey. It's a pop-up store. People aren't going to buy it on a whim. I think we ended up selling like 7 or 8 bottles of it.
That's wild.
Which is kind of strange. That's just how good it is, especially in a lineup of other whiskies. All right, so next up, we're about to record the free whiskey. If you haven't seen the video for that, it'll be uploaded at the same time as this one, so I'll see you over there. Slasher.
Gotcha.
Nice.